So how in the world did you get into peace, love, hip hop? Where did that come from?
Oh my gosh. Well, I grew up dancing. My mom was a dance teacher. And so I knew what dance studio culture looked like to me. Like that was second nature to me. And I loved it. All my friends that I'm still friends with are all friends that grew up with in the dance studio. There's just like anything, just like any little, subculture. The people that do it really understand
Yeah.
the hours that you spend there, like, anything, volleyball, tennis, basketball, you have that immediate connection with people. And so I wanted my girls to have that connection when I realized, they loved dance and they loved music and they might not be into sports as much. And so when we moved from Los Angeles to California, my kids were 8 and 3. And, I started looking for a dance studio. Immediately, I had absolutely zero intention of starting that business. I had a design business, a great partner. And so I started looking for dance studios and nothing fit the bill. Nothing, um, you know, was exciting. Or so I was like, well, I could just start really small. I could just rent some space. There's a dance studio down the street from me. I could rent some space there and just teach some classes. And another thing that I grew up doing is, spending so much time at the dance studio. And I had to take, like everybody, I had to take tap, jazz, ballet,
Yeah.
gymnastics, ton. Like we had to take everything. And then hip hop was offered like after the fact, right?
Yeah.
And it was my favorite thing. And I had really, really dug into it in high school, and it started to, sort of um, become a little bit more mainstream when I was in high school and then in college in the 90s. And then when I lived in LA, I would take hip hop classes. And so I had always been researching it and really thirsty for more education in hip hop dance. And so, my thing was like, why can't I just do this one kind of dance that I like? Why do I have to do all these other forms of dance? And I understand, I mean, I understood why, but it was like, not every kid is going to want to put on tights and a leotard and point shoes. Not every kid is going to want to go out and get tap shoes. But the accessibility of hip hop was like, you don't need anything. You just literally need music and a pair of tennis shoes and a pair of sweatpants.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, so if I start, I could start teaching some hip hop just to Georgia and her friends and see what happens. And, it was literally, and I think like a lot of businesses, just built from just a need and serving a purpose and serving your own purpose and serving your heart too. Like I really wanted this for my family,
Yeah.
and I wanted to, create something for my family. That wasn't necessarily the intention, was never to make money. The intention was never to be big. The intention was to make my family happy and my kids happy and some of their friends,
Yeah.
right? And that
Yeah.
was the intention behind it. Like
Yeah.
never in a million years did I think that, hip hop, going into a hip hop business on a tiny island. At that time, I think there were 6,000 people on Daniel Island, and right now there's only like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But of mostly, well, 99% Caucasian,
Yeah. Yeah.
Southerners, would
Yeah.
that be a good business plan?
Yeah.
In any, but it just, I mean, I think it just really goes to show, if you do something genuinely and authentically and from your heart, and to, you know, people understand that,
Yeah.
right? Not to say that you can't build a business just because you want to make money, but there has to be something more there, I think,
Yeah.
especially for a small business.
Yeah.
So I started teaching classes to Georgia and her friends. I think we probably started out with like 5 kids. I rented space for $25 an hour. And then it got, the next week, some of their friends told, this was really fun. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you got to check this out.
Yeah.
And then brought a couple more friends. And then the moms would pick up their kids, right? They'd come 10, 15 minutes early to pick up their kids at this little studio. And it was tiny.
Yeah.
Um, they were like, well, we want to do this. And I'm like, you do? And they were, absolutely. And then, come to find out, I had cheerleaders, I had dance team women, I had, you know, women that just loved to dance. I mean, and so it was like we all had this bond and we all had this need, like we just want to dance.
Yeah.
And um, so then I started a mom's class or an adult class, not
Yeah.
necessarily, they weren't all moms. Um, and that grew too, just by word of mouth. I mean, this was like in '07. And so I wasn't even on Instagram. I just had just jumped on Facebook, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I was just printing out flyers and putting them in the windows of local businesses, you
Yeah.
know. And at that time, Daniel Island, there were probably like 5 businesses.
Yeah.
So, and then it just kind of grew from there. And then social media picked up. And then, you know, we moved into the school, and then I started an after school program. And then I realized, oh my gosh, all these kids in the after school program, they're just sitting around doing nothing.
Oh.
They're just sitting around watching TV and doing their homework. And, you know, and there's like 2 after school, you know, teachers taking care of like 60 kids.
Yeah.
And so I started after school, and the school was nice enough at that time to let me come in, and I had to go into the principal and talk to the superintendent and propose this idea. And, you know, I had to basically structure this for them, because they're like, we've never done this, which I think kind of, you know, just to have, I was like, we have this gorgeous space. We have
Yeah.
all these kids sitting here.
Right.
Like, what are we're not taking advantage of all these opportunities. And of
Yeah.
course, you know, the school and teachers and everybody's overworked and they're not thinking about those kind of things. And so that was awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had classes with, you know, again, it started out like there were 10 kids in the class. Literally the next week it doubled. And then
Yeah.
the next week it doubled.
Yeah.
Right. And then it kind of just took off from there. And then I realized, you know, a couple years in, like, you know what, there might be something here. We're really building a community and a culture, and kids are happy and parents are happy and everybody's happy. And this is just like,
Yeah.
everybody just cannot be happy when you walk in. And you know this, when
Yeah.
you walk into our studio, or when you walk into a room, or when you know, see these kids dancing, and, you know, seeing the confidence that the kids had. And so then I knew I had something there. And so then I kind of, you know, took it from there and started getting spaces. And then after renting a couple spaces and being a tenant, was like, you know, all right, we need to build something. I don't want to be a tenant, and I don't want anybody to complain about noise. I don't want anybody to tell me what I can and can't do. I want to do what I want to do
Yeah.
when I want to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, passion, you know, when people talk about passion and, oh, go do something you're passionate about. And it's just awesome listening to your story, because you used the word business early, but I don't think it was business for quite a while. It was really
no.
about a passion that became infectious. And then, like you said, this person tells that person, and the moms, you know, I love that. Moms and dads, even, you know, I've been in the classes too. It's just, you almost wish that you would have had that when you were small, because you would have gotten into it, because hip hop is such a culture thing. So culture, how do you, because now you've got a lot of hands on deck, you've got a lot of people. How do you, to this day, sprinkle angel everywhere? Because you do such a great job of creating this energy, this positive energy in the whole studio. But, you know, if you're not there, I'm sure the hardest part was, well, wait a minute, Angel's not teaching all the classes, because you had more kids than you had time for, but you still have kept this great culture. So do you sit around and think about your culture, or do you just feel that that comes naturally?
Well, it definitely came naturally in the beginning, because, you know, you know, I didn't try to be anything that I wasn't. And I genuinely was so excited to be there every day and to see these kids and to see these families, you know. And everybody always says, oh my God, you own a dance studio. How are the parents? And I'm like, the parents are amazing. Like, you know, everybody it's just amazing. And I think it is the way that we structured the business or the culture that we, you know, we sort of took the competitiveness out of it. We really tried to encourage everyone and make everyone feel really, really special. And, I think I lost track of the question there.
No, well, you find it because kids are on such a different, on such different development timelines. And, 8-year-old is experiencing different things than a 13-year-old. So this
Yeah,
culture
yeah.
of everybody's welcome here. I've always noticed that about your culture is that there's kids that come in and they look completely different from the other kid. They're not mainstream kids. Some kids come in, they shave half their head, whatever. But
Right.
there's
It
this
is
message of it's okay for you to be you here. And I've always seen that. I just think that that's such a compliment to you. It's how do you, what is just Angel's philosophy on where to meet a kid, where the kid's at, right?
absolutely. And I think that, I mean, we represent that definitely in our community and our culture and our teacher and the people that we hire and the people that we, um, bring into the studio. And again, like, it's nothing that I ever really thought about or really tried to do. It's really awesome to step back and see it and, and reflect on it and to be like, oh my gosh, look at this group of kids or look at this, but it's just, I think it just comes so natural to me and to the people that work for me. But it is, it is a little bit, and I knew that from the beginning, like it is a little bit of the land of misfit toys, like unlike a ballet studio or unlike a basketball team or a soccer team where, kind of everybody, or a football team, everybody looks the same. They're kind of, their stature, their height, but for us, it's just across the board. And I think that the sort of, I think that does lend to the kids when they come in the room and they're like, oh, I see me represented. I see me represented on this wall of fame. We have a big wall of, pictures, a big wall of fame in the studio now. And it's like, you can literally walk in there and see every age, gender, shape, size represented there. And, I think the music, which I have to give so much credit to the music, it's so, I mean, you're gonna dance to your favorite song, period. Yeah. So sometime throughout that hour class, and you already have a connection to that. And that's what, I always thought, again, in ballet and tap and jazz, and I love all those forms of dance, but like, when you're in ballet class, you don't have that deep, deep, deep connection to a piece of music that they're playing. You can appreciate it and you like it, but you're not like, this is my song. Like you never, but when there's something about that, even if you're at a party, if you're at a restaurant, if you're at a grocery store and your song comes on, like you're immediately like happy about it. And, and so that's such a great, easy barrier of entry, that the music, right? And if you don't like hip hop music, you're probably not going to be at my studio anyway. Right. So I think kids come in and they immediately from the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, person that they see are just like, oh, okay, this is great. I'm great.
What's your message to these kids today, especially in this I mean, everything's under a microscope. And this can be also, the research says it's just not just for girls, it's also for boys, but body image. Like body image, what's your message? Because you have so many different, unique looking, like I'm shocked sometimes how the choreography can pull a little guy out the corner and all of a sudden he's right in the middle, and then there's this really tall person you didn't even know they were in the back, and then all of a sudden they're in the front. Like what's your overall philosophy on confidence and body image, because that's a tough age to be working with.
It's really tough. I think, well, first of all, I think that we just like never draw attention to it, right? And we just it's a non-issue for us. We never draw attention to it. If I have that, and we've had this conversation, if I do have that with girls and parents are awesome enough to come to me and say, this weird thing has been happening, she's worried about her belly fat, and it's like, so I will kind of pull a kid aside or one of my other teachers, and we'll kind of talk about it, and we'll just try to I mean, I feel like if we just keep going and doing what we do and showing kids that it doesn't matter. And, I never try to address it face on, because I think that's too much. And I never want to single anybody out or make them feel like, again, like their parents came to me or anything. And again, just like on my social and everywhere, just trying to put out the different bodies. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's happening right now, body positivity, that's, you know, long overdue. But you know, it's honestly, it's not something that I have to necessarily deal with face on. I think we just really truly try and lead by example, and, you know, keep any sort of negative talk out of our mouths. And we're just constantly, you know, high-fiving and just making them feel awesome. And, you know, I mean, I think that's definitely the key to it.
Yeah. Well, what do you
And
think the future of that? Because these girls and guys, they graduate, right? They move on, and then they take all this confidence into other things like college or jobs and all that stuff. So when you have taken this passion through this whole spectrum now, like in your mind, you know, sitting on top of this as the architect, what do you hope that people will remember? So like the student that graduates and they go off, and, you know, whether they find another hip hop class because they move out of state, maybe they don't have it, like, what do you hope that they will remember from their experience with being around you?
that is such a good question. I just had 13 girls graduate 2 months ago. And that was a tough one. Like it's gotten tough in the past couple of years, because now, you know, we've been around for 15 years. It's our 15th year. And so now I've got my kindergartners
Yeah.
graduating.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy.
it's intense, and
Yeah.
it's tough, and it's so weird. And these kids, I mean, and you see them, they're so talented. And it kills me sometimes to think that this might be the last time that they dance, or, you know, it's just, and I hope that it's not. And I know that it's not. I know that it's not. I know that at every party, at every wedding, at everything that they go to, they will be the star, and they will have the confidence to jump out on the dance floor, to be the party starter, to be the one that everybody wants at their party, to be the life of the party. I mean, obviously I want that for all these kids to carry that on. But I just also want them to know that no matter what, they always have a home at Piece of Hip Hop. You know, they can always come back to me. They can always ask me questions. They can always, you know, come to me if they have any, you know, I want them to have, besides, of course, their family, to know that we are family, that I am a soft landing place for a lot of kids. I want them to always know that and to carry that with them. And I do have a couple right now that are having a little tough time transitioning into college. And so we've been checking in, we've been doing our thing, and to just know that they've got somebody on their side that is a consummate cheerleader, and that will be there for them. And, you know, if they ever come back and they want a job, or they want any help as professionals, or young adults or adults, that I'm so here for them. I definitely want that to be number one. But I just, you know, especially for the girls, I just want that confidence that they have. And I see it. And I mean, I'm jealous of it sometimes. I see some of these girls, and it's like, where does it come from? You're so confident and just such a badass. And I just, you know, I think it's mutual between the two of us. And now it becomes, again, when you've got these kids that are growing up and you see them like taking on the world, and then it becomes this mutual admiration that just builds and builds and builds and builds, right? And you're like, you're awesome. No, you're awesome. And you know, I just want them to always take that confidence. And I also want them to take, you know, because there is this certain feeling, and you know this from like playing in games, and there's this feeling when you're like on stage, or you're on a basketball court and you make a three or whatever, like that is that feeling that like, I am unstoppable. I am just, you know, and I just want that feeling, that unstoppable, that confidence that I've got this, to carry with them, you know. And I can dance. I've been up on stage. I've won, you know, state international, national competitions dancing, like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can take this test. I can make this speech. I can stand up in front of these people. Like, I can do this because I've done hard things before, and I've been nervous and I've been scared, but I've fought through it and I've come out on the other side, and I can do it. No,
Yeah.
no big deal. That's really what I want them to think. Like, I've got this.
Yeah. A positive sense of accomplishment, for them to receive the payoff of the hard work, because, those routines are not easy. I mean, they're very complex, and
That's what I did.
yeah, I'm very shocked how
I
intricate.
keep telling them that. Yes. I'm like, if you can remember every little beat, every little tick, every little 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, like, you hit everything in a song, you get up on stage and perform it, and you learn it in sometimes they learn it in like a month or two. You can do anything.
Yeah.
You can do anything. You've got it. You've totally got it. And they believe that. And, it's just always, that's the bottom line, is if you believe you can do something, then you can do it.
Well,
I feel
I've always felt like all people are welcome at your studio, and I think that's an energy that bubbles over. I think our community needs to hear that more often. It's so easy when you turn on the news and the media to find that, okay, this person made that mistake, or let's exclude this person, or it becomes like that becomes the main story. Where I've always felt like your studio is an all-inclusive place for, hey, just bring who you are. We don't care if you have never danced before. Um, where are you now in your timeline? I mean, do you have room for new students?
Yeah, we do have room for new recreational students for sure.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, always, always, always. It's growing every year. I mean, it's just that is one, so many great things about being in a small community. But I do think, regardless of social media, regardless of, anything, YouTube, whatever, anything that goes on, I think our families and our word of mouth, and even families that are no longer at the studio, or were there 10 years ago, still have such wonderful memories and things to say about it, which I'm so grateful for. That the word is still, that's still getting out, and people are just highly recommending it, and it's just awesome. And again, like, it isn't for everyone. It's for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I love it when people come in and they have a kid and they're like, they don't play sports, they're a little bit uncoordinated, they're kind of shy, and I don't know. And I'm like, bring them in here. This is the place for you. This is a place. I mean, and those are the most rewarding, is to see, and it's not about dance steps. I mean, we all know that. To see someone really blossom, and to really feel comfortable, and to really, like, breathe and let it down, and just feel like, okay, here's my place.
It's fun to watch those kids from the outside year after year, and you see that, like you mentioned, you see the confidence on them, and I love that. I love to see, like, the little guy that didn't do much of anything, and now he's got a new hairstyle, and he finally grew into his confidence, and he's absolutely just killing it. It's so much fun to watch that. But on this, I'll have all of the links to the website so people can find you, all the Instagram. I mean, you have got to check out Peace Love Hip Hop on Instagram. Some of the routines that you guys will see when you go click on these links or follow them on Instagram, it's so much fun to watch. It makes me so happy. I had a great journey there when my baby was there, and I've enjoyed some of the adult classes. I don't think I am front row material, but hey, I like to get in there and sweat every now and then.
Well, and also you did a performance as well. It's amazing.
Yes, I did it.
And you're going to do that forever. You and your wife. It was so fun, and your daughter was so proud and so happy, and like, oh my God, my dad's out there. My dad's out there. Yeah. And then Amanda too.
I have a whole different appreciation for Bye Bye Bye. I can tell you that.
You'll never forget it. You'll never forget it.
Angel, thank you. You're amazing. One of my favorite people, and you do inspire me. And thank you.
You're one of my favorite people. Wow. And what you said earlier about having conversations with people and leaving feeling a little bit better, a little bit more positive, a little bit more energized. than you did before is so true for you. And I just appreciate, that's one of the highest compliments. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate
I think
it.
we all need to do that, right?
You do, and you can just lift people up all day long. And I appreciate you all for always lifting up me and also my family. So thank you for being here. And guys, there's a lot of great other great interviews here with other awesome people just like Angel. So thanks for taking the time to be here. And Angel, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, David. I'm back in Charleston next week, so
Let's
let's
connect.
okay. Okay.